Hey beauties, welcome to the Clean Beauty Podcast. Did you know that unlike most everything else in America, cosmetics are not regulated? This means that corporations can use thousands of potentially harmful ingredients that I personally know can cause health problems. I'm your host, Cassandra McClure. I've been in the beauty business for over 10 years as a celebrity makeup artist that advocates for safer and more sustainable cosmetics. Join me each week for important news, exclusive interviews, and more on the clean beauty revolution.
Are you a business owner or entrepreneur looking for ways to expand your business or create closer relationships with your customers and clients? Are you a health and wellness advocate looking for ways to turn your passion into profits? Have you been following the rise of the clean beauty movement and wondering how you or your business can benefit from this growing trend? If so, you won't want to miss this first episode of our series, The Business of Clean Beauty. In today's episode, I'm talking with Guyanne Lufrano, an award-winning sales and marketing executive who defected from corporate life to turn her personal passions into a profitable business. After closing over $1 billion of sales transactions in various industries, Guyanne now uses her expertise to help small businesses like mine and mission-driven entrepreneurs make their businesses even bigger. She's also a friend and mentor who first introduced me to BeautyCounter and set me on my personal and professional clean beauty journey, which is flourishing.
Hey beauties, welcome to the Clean Beauty Podcast. Did you know that unlike most everything else in America, cosmetics are not regulated? This means that corporations can use thousands of potentially harmful ingredients that I personally know can cause health problems. I'm your host, Cassandra McClure. I've been in the beauty business for over 10 years as a celebrity makeup artist that advocates for safer and more sustainable cosmetics. Join me each week for important news, exclusive interviews, and more on the clean beauty revolution.
So you guys know, I don't have a corporate background. I mean, I literally worked at Nordstrom for a year, but that does not count. Most people I know in that world, when they achieve that type of success that you did, they usually use it to climb further up the corporate ladder and get better jobs with bigger companies. So, Guyanne, tell us a little bit about your background, why you chose to leave a high-level position like the one you had, and work relatively anonymously with small businesses like mine. I mean, as an entrepreneur, it's so cool to have someone like you in my life because you've just brought so much clarity to everything that I'm doing, and you've helped me build a business with other team members, and it's really, really cool. So, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. It's very cool to see all of the kind of behind the scenes and where all the magic happens here. So yeah, I mean, my story is pretty, it's not super unusual. I spent, I did all the things that we grow up hearing that we're supposed to do, at least certainly in my generation. That was the thing. You go to school, you get a job, you get promoted, you work your butt off, and you just do that for 20, 30, 40 years until you retire with the gold watch or whatever it is that people get nowadays. And I was totally on that track. I did really well in school. I got a great job coming out of school. I was incredibly lucky to find some really amazing mentors along the way who were willing to, take a chance on someone who knew nothing about a business and really just kind of give me some direction and let me spread my wings and fly. And it was really an interesting time in my life because I found myself doing all the things that I had set out to do. I got a great job. I was really successful. I was able to buy a house really early. I could travel. I traveled personally. I traveled for work. I did all the things. And it was, by all standard measures, it was, this was it. I had quote unquote made it. And then something really interesting happened. It all kind of went off a cliff in the at the time of the last housing crash. And I decided that I'd had enough of that. And I was going to take off for a while. So I moved to Europe, I traveled, I did kind of all the things that I didn't get to do when I was working, 60, 70, 80 hours a week doing the corporate thing. And what I found while I was gone was that I really liked that life. As much as I actually did have fun doing all the, doing the corporate gig and being in the, super shiny office with the high powered title and all that jazz, it was fun for me, but it wasn't nearly as much fun as just kind of hanging out in Europe and doing whatever I wanted whenever I wanted. So I had a really I would have had a really hard time going back to that life, but I still wanted to work. I was way too young to be completely retired, and I felt like I still had some work to do. I had some kind of I don't know, mission and what I felt was really an obligation to kind of pay forward all of the goodwill and the experience that other mentors had given me and take that everything that I had learned, everything that they'd taught me, and everything that I was able to do to be successful myself, and just share that with other people who were at the beginning of their careers or at the beginning of building a business, and trying to fulfill their dreams. I found that that's been kind of my calling for the last 10 years or so.
Okay, so obviously this sounds completely unrelated to the beauty industry, which I've been in for so long. So how did you come to be involved in this movement?
I've just been kind of a lifelong advocate of all things clean living, anything to do with health and wellness. And it's funny because being in the beauty industry, if you would have asked me even 2 years ago if this was something that I would participate in, I would have just literally laughed in someone's face, because anybody who knows me, I am not a glamour gal. I am not a beauty lover. I don't use a lot of products, and I can barely figure out how to put my own makeup on. So the fact that I have anything to do with the beauty industry, I find kind of laughable. But it is that connection between health and wellness and clean living, and a lot of the things that I learned along my journey in that space that brought me to this whole clean beauty movement. And it's funny. It's kind of like one of those things that people don't really think about. Like it's become super super common for people to, once they start doing the clean living thing, be really aware of all the food that they eat. And, you need to eat organic because there's pesticides and all kinds of other things in your food, in your water, in your house. The next thing that I started paying attention to were my cleaning products. I didn't want to have all these toxic chemicals in my house. And so I, kind of cleaned up that whole part of my house. And the one area that I never really paid much attention to was my beauty products, personal care products, the stuff that I use literally on my body every single day. And I was, because I had been an advocate of clean living and general wellness for so long, I kind of thought I knew it all. I was like, I know what I'm supposed to eat. I know what I'm supposed to use to clean my house. I only use stuff that's organic or natural or made in Europe because their standards are so much higher. And I never really looked any closer into the products that I was using until I got married and decided to have a family. And it's a really interesting thing. I was 40 when I got married, which is a pretty late age to start having a family. So I got all the doctors giving me all the advice about, me and my advanced maternal age and all the things that I should be doing, or all the things that I would have to do if I wanted to have a baby, which included all these, not super lovely procedures that would involve like hormones and medications and all of these other things. And all of that just totally terrified me. And as I looked into it even further, one of my doctors, who knew I wasn't very excited about the fact that I would have to, take any kind of medication or any weird foreign substances, asked me about my, the types of products that I use. And I was like, super proud to be like, oh, I only eat organic stuff and I only use like natural cleaning products, and all of my, basically everything that goes anywhere on or in my body is, perfectly pure and clean. And um, my doctor had introduced me to a group called the Environmental Working Group that has a database called Skin Deep. And it's a huge database that has information on all kinds of ingredients that are used in personal care products. So he said, have a look at this, go check it out, see, just check your products. You're probably fine. I'm sure, I know you're super clean living, very healthy, all the good things. But you might be interested to find maybe one or two things that aren't quite as clean as you thought. So, very, very confidently and arrogantly, I went to this database and started looking up my products, and I was absolutely mortified. Like lotion, shampoo, my face cream, my makeup, like literally everything that I was using that I thought was so good for me and so healthy turned out to be like awful. So, that basically like didn't I wasn't even looking for clean beauty at that point. I was just literally boycotting everything. I stopped using anything on my body that wasn't organic coconut oil or something that I could literally eat. And that was it. And that continued from the time that I got pregnant until, not too long ago. Fortunately, living in Northern California, it's not super important, not nearly as important as it was when I was working, to be fully made up or to be like, super glamorous. And it's been a very easy place for me to be kind of hiding from beauty products in general. But interestingly enough, a couple of years ago when I went back to work, I was working on a consulting job that was going to require me to do a lot of public speaking engagements, a lot of video trainings for my sales team, and a bunch of other things that finally made me look in the mirror and say, okay, fine, you need to put something on your face. And by that time I had had my daughter, and I remember very distinctly getting ready for work one day and putting on my makeup, and my daughter came in. She was like 2 at the time, and she was like, mommy, what are you doing? And I was sort of playing with her, and I gave her a little brush, and she started just like kind of dabbing it on her nose and her cheeks. And I don't even think there was any product on it, but as soon as I saw that, I literally like grabbed it out of her hand and was like, oh my God, wait a minute, what are you doing? What is that? Wash your face, get that away. Like, don't even touch that. And it was so bizarre, but it was such a visceral reaction to think that any of these things would even touch my daughter's skin, which is a pretty scary thing considering I had just gotten done putting that all on my own face. So, so that just sort of started me on this path towards looking for something that I could, use to make myself look decent, that I didn't feel like was going to, make me sick or make my daughter sick. And I didn't really know where to even start. Like, I didn't follow any beauty bloggers. I didn't follow any, I had nothing at that point in my life. I wasn't even getting, magazines anymore. I didn't even know it was out there. So, what was really interesting was I did follow a friend of mine who is a holistic health coach. She's her name is Carly Lockman. She is amazing. She's not only a holistic health coach and integrative nutritionist, she's an herbalist, and I think she was also at one point a postpartum doula and a yoga teacher and a lactation consultant and all of these things. And because she was a personal friend of mine, I'd known that she had gone through some pretty significant health challenges and was really on a mission to improve her own health. And I had randomly seen her do a video she's got a cute little Facebook group where she talks about a lot of the products that she uses and recommends to her clients, and stuff that she uses personally. And I saw this video one day of her in a charcoal mask with her daughter. And And then I was like, okay, I don't know what that is, but whatever it is that you're not only using on yourself, but on your daughter, it must be okay. And I need to know what it is because I need to get a bunch of stuff. Um, and, and that's when I found out that she had been using BeautyCounter. And for me, that was a huge seal of approval, far more than any of the, the labels or certifications that are out there. In fact, it's really ironic because I had boycotted BeautyCounter for years. I had heard about them when they first come out, and a few years prior, and I even had friends of mine who had started selling it, and they were like, "Oh, this would be perfect for you. This is totally up your alley. You would love it." And literally just the fact that they had a direct sales component, it's not even the only way that they put their products to market, but the fact that it had anything to do with that, I was just like, no way, forget it, not going to do it. This is like the greenwashed version of Avon or Mary Kay or one of those things that people have been trying to get me to sell for my entire life. Like I instantly just didn't trust them and assumed that their products were just not good. And then on top of that, because I had spent so much time working in and around the food industry and kind of educating people about labels on food and why, certain labels mean this, certain labels mean that, only, this or that certification is important. But really understanding from having a marketing background, understanding how companies use things like happy cows and dancing chickens and all, little leaves and pretty things to make it look on their packaging like what's inside it is natural. I was really, really hyper aware of all the kind of greenwashing that went on in that industry. And I saw it happening in the beauty industry as well. So, and especially after I had already looked at products that I was using that said they were natural and organic and plant-based and this and that and the other thing, and then finding out that they had, a bunch of ingredients that I was trying to avoid. I just, I was super skeptical about anything, and that is one that I'm now embarrassed to say I really just wanted nothing to do with. And so for years I didn't use it, but it was really Carly's personal connection to the brand and the way that she was able to talk about it in just sharing how she used it in her own life, why she was comfortable using it, all the research that she had done looking into the company, and all the reasons that, she was not only comfortable using it for herself, but also recommending it to her clients. That made me take another look and feel pretty confident that if she trusted them, I could trust them. So again, ironically, I was working on a consulting job for another direct sales company in a completely unrelated industry. And to be honest, I signed up as a consultant just to get the discount. Like I need to, I call her up and like, look, I'm going to buy a bunch of stuff. Tell me, don't give me the sales pitch. Don't give me don't tell me the whole thing. I don't need to know all the reasons why this is going to be a life-changing opportunity. I just want to know what's the discount and what's the deal? Like, what are the minimum requirements to be a consultant? Because I have no intention of selling this or building a business. And so, she sent me some information and I'm like, all right, I'm going to spend a few $100s anyway, because I literally need to replace everything that I have. And so I signed up as a consultant. I enjoyed my discount, and the other side benefit was I got to poke around in their back office to see what they were doing that was working so incredibly well. Part of this consulting gig that I'd had was researching all kinds of companies in the direct sales industry and all, everything from wine to beauty to, the health and wellness, shakes, oils, all the things. And I had known quite a lot about a lot of companies, but BeautyCounter is one that I hadn't really looked into. But once I started looking into them, I saw that they were really, really incredibly successful, incredibly quickly. And since it was my job to help this other company basically have that type of success, I just wanted to learn a little bit more about what they were doing and how they were doing it. And the more I learned, the more their mission really spoke to me personally, and the more I saw an opportunity to kind of pursue this professionally. Like, I love the mission. I'm all about, educating people and providing information and sharing safe products. But as a as ultimately a capitalist at heart, if I'm going to do something that has to do with my business, I want to know that there is, that there's money to be made. Otherwise, I can just go volunteer and do something with my free time. But as I looked into, sorry, it's a really long answer to your question, but that's kind of the path that I took to not only my own personal clean beauty journey to find products for myself, but as I really looked at this business opportunity, I saw a lot of different ways, not just as being a consultant, but a lot of different ways that not only I, but other business owners could really kind of embrace this clean beauty movement and use a socially have a socially beneficial mission to serve their clients and customers better, and also, add some other streams of income to their business.
Yeah. So I feel like I see the connection now of where you were and then what happened. You started a family. And so your consulting services like just naturally came into it, right? And then why would business owners who aren't in the beauty industry care about the clean beauty movement? Because I mean, but with a couple of friends already that have salons, for example, they're asking me to do pop-ups there. Like they see they're pampering their customers. Like I know of that way already, but like what other industries and what other ways could they implement it?
So it's really interesting. It's something that again kind of came very unexpectedly. I wasn't trying to build this business. I wasn't trying to find customers or build a team or recruit people or even really talk about it very much. But one of the things that I found is that as I shared it with some friends, because it's what we do. You find something that you like or that you believe in or that you think is good, and it just kind of naturally comes up in conversation. And the more I talked about the products I was using and not just BeautyCounter, but other products, and why I was being so kind of militant about researching ingredients and really paying attention to the stuff that I was using, it just kind of sparked so many conversations and got a lot of people just asking me more and more about what I was using or what they were using, and is this good? Is this ingredient bad? Do I need to stay away from this? Is this safe when I'm pregnant? And things like that. And the I've as it relates to business, I've always been involved with nonprofits in one way or another. And one experience I had in particular that really opened my eyes to the power of this type of mission-based marketing was working with an organization called Immerman Angels back in Chicago. They were a cancer support organization that provides one-on-one support for cancer fighters and their caregivers. And it was a really incredible organization, and I had created. At the time I was, I loved planning events, I loved having parties, I loved going out. So one of the things that I did with them was to create this event. It's kind of an event, not to say planning program, but it was a program called Angel Allies, and it was a way to work with local businesses who wanted to do fundraisers for us. It was really interesting. I saw the direct results on these businesses when they align themselves with this social mission that they had a personal attachment to. We had a wait list for businesses who wanted to host fundraisers for us because the people at this organization just made supporting our mission very cool and very accessible. It wasn't, we weren't an organization where you had to, spend $1,000 a plate to come to one of our events. We didn't have these big, expensive galas. It was, we literally
hard to get into.
Yeah, I mean, we had events that were. At first, they were all free. The founder, Johnny Immerman, was just the most amazing human being, and I have never seen an organization grow so quickly with a founder who absolutely refused to ever ask anyone for money. His whole MO was, just share the mission, the money will come. If share the mission, tell people what we do. That's what's important. And it was true. People literally were like asking, how can we support you? What do you need? And all of that without ever asking for it. And between that, seeing that, and people being so moved by a mission and a movement that affected them personally, and then combining that with seeing these businesses who just wanted to be associated with us because, of course, there was some level of coolness associated with having an event for us, which is why we had such a long wait list. But also that they took such pride in being supporters of this organization because it was a mission that just affected everybody. And that's one of the things that I see about the clean beauty movement is that it is something that affects everyone. It's not just women. It's not just people who use beauty products. It's everybody. If you use any kind of a product on your body, whether it's makeup or skincare or shampoo, soap, lotion, sunscreen, deodorant, like literally anything you put on your body, this affects you, whether you're like man, woman, grandparent, child. It's unavoidable. And what I think is really interesting about this movement as well is that it's not just about the products you use. Like I was going through life feeling, again, fairly confident and superior, thinking all my products are great. Everything is super natural and clean and pure, so I don't have any problems. But if you think about what happens when these other products are produced, when all these toxic ingredients are being not only put into these products, even if you don't use the products, they're still ending up in our air, in our water, in our soil. So all that lovely organic food we're eating is contaminated with everything that's in the environment. So it's one of those things where you can't even kind of shop your way out of it. We're all kind of in this together because we all live on this planet, and there's really nowhere around that. So as it relates to these businesses, cause marketing isn't really anything new. I think a lot of companies recognize their social responsibility to give back to communities, even small businesses who like to support. I remember when I was in Girl Scouts or whatever, going to all these businesses, and we all got them to support our troop or our team or what have you. But I think what is happening in our world now, and especially with kind of the I hate to say the rise of social media, because that feels like it happened a really long time ago, but it's still becoming really important to the concept of humanizing your brand and connecting with your customers and creating more authentic customer experiences, something beyond just promoting your products and services. It's not good enough anymore to be the best eye doctor or the most knowledgeable nutritionist or have like the coolest retail store. Like products and services alone don't stand on their own anymore. And the companies that are really succeeding, whether they're big companies or small companies, are those that are able to create these like authentic connections and various touch points with their customers through different types of experiences. So social media has really kind of taken that to the next level from being just an added layer of marketing to kind of the foundation of brand building and business building. It's storytelling. This type of storytelling is more vital to businesses than ever before. And because of that, everyone's doing it. So it's getting a lot harder to kind of cut through the noise and really not only stand out, but to make real connections. Like everybody's competing for your customers' attention and everyone's trying to build relationships with them. I mean, it's kind of like going from, being being the one, like, I don't know why this is coming to my mind, but like being the one guy in a room full of women, and now suddenly you're in the club surrounded by a bunch of other models who are all competing for the same person's attention. Yes, exactly. Thank you. I knew there was something more relevant. But that's, so that's it. So that's why I think that businesses should care in general about how they're connecting with their customers, how they are communicating with their customers, and the fact that there is an opportunity for almost any business to align themselves with something that affects their customers, even in ways that maybe aren't related to the way they serve them. I think that even, if you can find a way to take a movement, take a mission, take an important like social topic and weave that into the things that you are doing with your business, how it's showing how you can make your business relevant to whatever that thing is that people care about. It just makes for a stronger connection. I remember having, I've had a lot of dentists in my life, but there are two that I specifically remember because they always asked me about my life. They knew and remembered like little details that I would tell them. And they offered like, they either talked about it, asked about it, maybe every now and then gave me an article that they thought I'd be interested in because of something that they remembered that I was into. And it's like those tiny little things that have absolutely nothing to do with what I went in to see them for are the things that make me remember them and that would make me recommend them to other people. So, that's one of the reasons that I feel like I can connect this mission to just about any business just by the simple fact that the clean beauty movement, the ingredients that are in our products, all of those things that we talk about affect absolutely everyone. And when business owners start having these conversations with the people that they serve, they're really demonstrating a level of care that 95% of their competitors won't, and I think that's really powerful. And that's one of the things that I try to teach my clients is that they need to find ways to connect with their clients and customers on a level that is, a little bit removed from what they expect so they can stand out and really, really kind of serve them in a way that's unique and special.
That is really powerful. I love all of this. And I actually, because we're friends, I've, heard a lot of these stories from the one with your daughter, and you were telling me about how you were taking the brush from her. I remember that story. And then I also remember the one about the dentist. You did tell me that. And so I've, been trying to implement that into my own beauty business, just, sending articles and things to customers that I know that like a certain brand or like, a certain artist. I'll like send them things that I find. And I have been being more like close to them on like a friend level, which is great. And I know that they appreciate that. And then, but what about individuals? Like, there's a lot of people who aren't in the beauty industry or don't have a business, or don't have one yet, and they want to find a way to advocate for safer products and perhaps even turn their passion project into an actual income producing job or career. I feel like a lot of moms, a lot of like people who leave a job and who don't have one, or like our friend that just came on, Nat, who decided she wanted to leave a corporate job and start her photography business, and now she's going to incorporate it. But just other ideas for other people.
Yeah, I mean, it's again, because this whole concept affects everyone, and because this is absolutely the future of the beauty industry. Like everything is going in that direction. We saw again, there's a big clean beauty segment on the Today Show of all things. But I feel like every time I open now, not just industry, like beauty industry, media or specifically like eco green media, but just the mainstream media, the Today Show, Forbes, like all of these other uh, different types of publications, all starting to talk about the rise of clean beauty, the business of clean beauty, how this is, really, really changing the market. And because of that, even though, the concept's been around for a while, it's relatively new to the mainstream. So there's a ton of opportunity and a lot of different options to be involved. Literally, no matter what you do, what your experience is, or how this touches your life. And there's, obviously being a BeautyCounter consultant is one option, but there are so many different things people can do. Like if you're maybe you feel like that's not for you and you're just mostly comfortable with just a traditional job, find a company in this space and see if they're hiring. Like, this is one of the most overlooked options that people don't think about, but not everyone's a cutout to be an entrepreneur. And with the kind of proliferation of all these new clean beauty brands or segments of existing brands, there's a huge opportunity to find better businesses to work for in the corporate world, if that's your thing. Um, if you like the idea of starting your own thing, whether it's starting a business completely like you have, or maybe just, kind of dabbling on the side, you can start a blog, you can start a podcast or a newsletter or a website. It literally doesn't matter how many you think there already are. It's something that, honestly, one of the reasons that I didn't start doing this several years ago was I'd already been following a bunch of people who were, I think Clean Beauty wasn't, it was green beauty bloggers or green beauty websites or green beauty resources or any of these other things. And I was like, there's plenty of them out there. Nobody needs another one. But it's not true. And there was, somebody made a comment to me once. It was Diane Sanfilippo. She is a two-time New York Times best-selling author who her first bestseller that she wrote was a book called Practical Paleo. And it was not the first by any means. It became, I feel like it became known as like the Paleo Bible for anybody who followed that particular way of eating. But I remember her talking about it and saying, what if I didn't do it? I mean, there were plenty of other people who were writing food blogs and even talking about paleo and doing all these things. Like, they didn't need me. They didn't need one more person in that space. But as it turns out, they did. They needed her voice, her perspective at whatever she wrote about it, however she wrote about it, however she connected with people. That was unique enough for her book to become like the number one paleo book that was written at the time. And I think it was on the bestseller list for like 2 years or something. So, her point was that everyone has a voice, everyone has their own unique perspective. Everyone has an audience. Everybody has friends and family and people who trust them and respect them and listen to them. And if you have those people in your life, you're an influencer. You don't need to have 1 million followers on Instagram or, a bunch of subscribers on YouTube. Anybody who listens to you, you have influence over. And we do these things all the time. So I think that, if somebody has it in their head or on their heart to start a blog or a podcast or a newsletter or write or talk or do anything to share whatever it is that they think about or think that, they feel like, there's someone else just like you who needs to hear it from someone just like you. They're not going to necessarily listen to somebody who's in another age group or another demographic or another, this, that, or the other thing. There are so many different categories of people with so many different perspectives and interests. And that's kind of why anybody can be an influencer these days.
I have another thing to add to that, because you can get a job for a company like BeautyCounter or another company that you believe in. But I also would highly suggest finding someone that has their own business like mine. I have people that are helping me. I have a copywriter. I have someone helping me with publicity. I have a mentor now. I have my own photographer. I have someone helping me with social media. I have a virtual assistant, and people doing trades and helping me because they believe in clean beauty. And one day we're all going to be very well off, and I'm not going to have to worry about paying them. So I think that you can also work with someone on the side if you don't want to do a full-time job, but you could help someone like me or another clean beauty artist or consultant and help them with their blog. Like, that's not my passion. I'm not passionate about writing. I really need help with that part. So Guyanne, some other people are helping me. So you could also do that. And then also maybe even like volunteering. You can do nonprofit stuff too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. I mean, and that's not to say that anyone needs to go all in on this concept either. I mean, you can certainly dabble here and there when you have time. If you just are someone who feels like, health and wellness is my thing. I'm already an advocate for clean food. I didn't know, or maybe I did know, that personal care products were an issue, but I didn't really think that, who would listen to me? I'm not an expert in this area or that area. But it doesn't, it just doesn't matter because it affects all of us at a very personal level, which means your personal story is all that matters. So whether it's, again, whether you want to start a business or make a whole thing out of it or add it to an existing business or just feel like you're doing your part. You can do all kinds of things. You can write an article every now and then for a community newsletter or like a little neighborhood publication. You can lead workshops and information sessions. I did a lot of that as a volunteer. And as I've gotten more involved, something that's really interesting is that I've learned that there are companies and organizations with budgets to pay for speakers and workshop facilitators to bring this type of information to their organizations, to their employees, to their like club members. So there are just a lot of different ways to get involved in this industry. Maybe you always dreamed of having your own skincare line. There's that's a whole other path that people can go down. But and if you do love the idea of promoting skincare, but you don't want the hassle or expense of starting your own, you can become an affiliate or an ambassador for other brands. BeautyCounter is one, but there are a lot of others. And that's how a lot of bloggers and influencers make a living. They partner with various brands. And if for anyone who's not familiar with affiliate marketing, they do sponsored posts. They have affiliate programs where you become an ambassador and you get a small commission from any sales that you refer. It's actually one of my favorite extra income streams that I work with small businesses to incorporate into whatever businesses that they're doing, because it's really seamless from an operational standpoint, as long as the products and brands are aligned with their business in some way. And they don't even have to be directly related. Like I said before, if you can find an angle, it literally doesn't matter if you're a doctor, a nutritionist, chiropractor, massage therapist, or somewhere totally on the other end of the spectrum, makeup artists, photographers, event planners, website developers. I have yet to meet a business owner with some kind of a business that I can't easily align what they do with this movement if they have a personal interest or passion about it.
Wow. That's a lot of options. I'd love to dive deeper into this and talk about some of these in more detail, especially the ones that will be more labor intensive. But for now, can you share a few guidelines to help a person or business owner choose the right companies to align themselves with? There's so many out there, and without any regulations there are so many out there, and without any regulation on terms they use, how do you know which ones are legit and which ones are greenwashing or clean washing, which is happening everywhere?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I personally look at a lot of different criteria when I assess companies that I want to align myself with. But in this particular space, there are four main things that I think are especially important. Um, as you mentioned, the greenwashing and clean washing. After all these years, I have seen marketing terms come and go, and the sad truth is none of these labels mean anything. There's no legal or industry standard for what does it mean to be natural or organic or plant-based or this or that. There's so many different things that people can throw around, and maybe that means one or two of their ingredients are natural or organic, and the rest of it is, a bunch of toxic soup. So you do have to do some research to find out how clean their ingredients really are, how transparent they are about what they use. They maybe, they've got most of their stuff is clean, but then they throw in this ingredient that we call fragrance, which can be any combination, as you know, of thousands of chemicals, a lot of which are known to be harmful. Or maybe they only disclose the ingredients that they're required to disclose, and they purposely leave out the ones that they don't have to mention as long as they're under some certain percentage. So, ideally, companies will start not just with clean ingredients that they thoroughly screen and hopefully they're responsibly sourced, but it's also great if they put manufacturing and testing processes in place to make sure that their products aren't contaminated with harmful substances somewhere along the production line or in the supply chain. A lot of the harmful substances that we're trying to avoid aren't actual ingredients that go into a formulation. So you're not going to see them on an ingredient label because the company didn't purposely put it in there.
I did not know that.
That's a big one. And that's one of the reasons that that the testing and the screening is so important because and the biggest source of these contaminants are natural ingredients. If you think about, what naturally occurs in the soil, there's all kinds of things that that occur in, I'll say, mineral based makeup is probably the one that I pay attention to the most, because the biggest contaminant that's found in mineral based makeup is heavy metals. So they're a great example. Mineral based makeups will rely on the fact that they're natural and say, like, we're natural, we come from nature, how can we be bad? But heavy metals like lead and mercury and arsenic are a natural contaminant of some of these ingredients. But you're not going to see lead and mercury and arsenic on a label because they didn't put it in there. It was already in those ingredients before they started. And honestly, the companies might not even know they're in there because you wouldn't know it's in there unless you did some kind of testing. And most companies don't go to that. They're certainly not required to do that kind of testing. And most companies just don't do it.
And don't have the budget, like all these indie brands that I'm starting to use that I'm like, oh, these powders are really great.
Mm-hmm.
Like I have no idea. Right.
Yeah. I mean, there's, I love to support the smaller brands because it's always good to have, it's those smaller brands that are really like the most passionate and mission driven. They're like, somebody literally started making some products out of their garage and turned it into a business. And I have all the respect in the world for those companies and appreciate that they're out there trying to make products that are, better, safer, cleaner, healthier for all of us. But yeah, resources are expensive, and to do, not just the testing, but also to pay people to develop formulas that actually work, that don't use that, you can't just take some recipe that you took from another company and use all the same ingredients and make a new mascara. To come up with a new product that uses none of the ingredients that anyone's ever used before and make it still work is hard. And it takes a lot of resources to invest in not only research and development, but people to do the screening of the ingredients and to do the screening of the final products and all of that stuff. So it's a lot. And that's a pretty high standard. There aren't a lot of companies that can meet that standard. But it's a huge bonus when you do find companies that do. And as a business owner or someone who wants to put your reputation and your name on anything that you're doing with respect to this industry, your reputation is everything. So you want to be really careful that any company you align yourself with is credible, is honest, is transparent. So, you can share their information confidently without having to worry that someone's going to call you out on that later. I think you and I talked about this when you started along this path, that, you want to be really careful throwing that around, because even though the general public might not know this, there are those people who've been around for a while and are going to be the first ones to call you out if you're saying, that something is good when it's not. So how's your experience been with that? Have you?
I'm still trying. I mean, I'm at Indie Beauty Expo. It was really a struggle for me because I would go around and I would say, hey, we're looking for clean, sustainable brands to highlight that are also giving back. And they're like, oh, that's us. And I'm like, oh, okay, great. And I pick up a product and there's like all of these horrible ingredients. And I was like, well, there's fragrance in this. And they're like, yeah, but it's clean. And I was like, do you know what's in it? And they were like, well, no. And I'm like, what? See, this is you're the CEO. Like, this is your product and you don't know. And it was just like, oh God, I have to screen and do so much research to get everyone on the podcast because they all say they want to come on and they all say they're clean. And then some of them were like, oh yeah, we give back. I'm like, oh, what organization? well, we're saving the water. We're not putting toxic chemicals in the water. And I was like, that's not giving back. I mean, that's helping, but it's not an organization, And so some of them they want to be good, but they don't have the resources. They don't have the knowledge. Some people are making beauty brands and they actually don't know about ingredients. So they just went to a lab and they got something that was, private label, but they won't admit it. And no one's trying to hurt anyone, but don't tell me, an expert, and I can pick up the back and look at these ingredients. And, a couple people were kind of irritated about that I was there. Mm-hmm. And, one of the girls grabbed the product from my hand and said, okay, well then, go to the next booth. And I was like, okay, I was just asking it because I don't know about your brand and I'm trying to highlight people that are clean, but you're not yet. So good luck,
Yeah. I mean, it's a spectrum, and it's hard to be, nobody's perfect. There is no company out there that can tell you with absolute certainty that they are 100% free of anything, I mean, things slip through the cracks. Things are not perfect. Companies, there are a lot of companies that are out there trying, to do the right thing, to do their best. But, even the whole definition of clean beauty is very subjective. There are some that'll say, oh, we ban, our screening is very rigorous. We ban 30 different things. And then there are others that'll say, well, we ban 2,500 things. And, the question though is, what do you ban? We talk a lot about this concept that in the European Union, there are over 1,400 different ingredients that can be used in personal care products that are known or suspected to be harmful to human health that are banned from the entire European Union. And off of that list, I think there are 30 that are partially banned in the US. But so that's a fact that I've known for a long time. And so I felt really confident shopping, when I'm overseas. I'm like, oh, I'm in France, I'm in Italy, I'm in the UK. Everything here must be super clean because they ban all these things. But they still allow things like parabens and phthalates and SLS and all kinds of other, and fragrance for sure. There are all kinds of things. So you can ban all the things that you want, but if you're not banning the right things, like the worst offenders, then it's almost like, what's the point? So, it's a lot. And if you're a business that, especially if you're not a beauty business and you're just, a health and wellness advocate who's trying to give your customers or clients some cleaner options, that's a lot of work to do. And I would not suggest that anybody suddenly become a beauty product expert or an ingredient expert. What I do suggest is doing a little bit of research, just enough to find brands that you feel like you can trust, or find an advisor or a mentor or someone to help you kind of navigate what, where you are on the spectrum. Is it good enough that it just doesn't have, there are a lot of clean brands that just say, we don't use these 10 things, but they're 10 pretty bad things. So maybe they do use one or two other little things. But if the most major offenders are gone and that's good enough for you, then that's cool. And then there are others that go to the totally other end of the spectrum, where if they don't have 30 years worth of studies proving that they're safe, then they don't, they won't use anything that doesn't have that level of data behind it. And so, and then there's everybody in between. So I guess the point is, just associate yourself with companies that you trust, figure out what your criteria is for, what's clean or what's clean enough, and what you feel comfortable putting your name behind and recommending. One of the other things that I recommend is that you look for companies that are really walking the walk. Aside from just their ingredients, how, to me, clean beauty is not just about ingredients, but also, what are you doing to the environment? And I personally like to work with companies that have a lot of solid sustainability initiatives in place. So it's not just that the ingredients are clean and safe, but that nothing else they're doing is impacting the environment in any worse than they absolutely need to. So whether that's packaging or their distribution, distribution channels, how they get their products out, what they put them in, what happens to their packaging when I'm done with it. All of those types of things to me are important. And if you're a business like you with the sustainable project and all the work that you were doing with them, like that's important. If you are someone who's aligned with sustainability initiatives, you want to find a company that and brands to support that are as well.
Mm-hmm. I just told this to one of the girls earlier that was asking me about BeautyCounter. She's like, "Oh, what's your story?" Oh, it's a new girl I'm working with she's helping me with branding, and she's like, "So tell me the story. How did it happen?" And I was like, I was I got with Sustainable Project. I was like really passionate about it, and as a beauty director, one of my jobs was to find clean brands or sustainable brands. And Stephanie Nadila told me because she's been in she's really the brains behind it, and she was telling me about B Corps, and I was like, how am I supposed to find sustainable brands? Like, what do I look for? And she's like, well, there's B Corp. And she started naming off these different organizations that, if a company is that I should pay attention to. So I said, oh, okay. And then like randomly I was out at a meeting and I found BeautyCounter. I met Guyanne and she's like, oh yeah, we're a certified B Corp. Da, da, da. And I was like, oh my God. And she said the word sustainability. So I said, wow, if you're clean, green, and you really are true to, if BeautyCounter really is these things, I have to try it. I have to work with this company. So for me, it was like, because of Stephanie telling me that, I knew my values. I knew I wanted to be more sustainable in all different areas of my life, but especially with beauty, because I was getting everything from overseas. I was like, getting a lot of stuff from China, like most stuff in Sephora is like not local to California. So there's like a lot that goes into that price tag too. So for me, I want to spend money on brands that were actually doing something. Also, with Congress, or like trying to lobby for laws, which again, BeautyCounter is doing. They're doing all of the things that I'm trying to do, that I want to do to make the world better for my kids. So when I have them, sorry, I don't have kids, but that's kind of the idea.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that you really were spot on talking about things that are aligned with your values. So whether it's your business values, the things that you say in your corporate mission statement, or just your personal values and how you live your life, that kind of brings me to my next point, which is inclusivity. That's a really, really big subject for me. And it's one that's getting a lot of attention and becoming pretty important for all businesses. It's another, I hate to say a trend, but it is. People are paying more attention and understanding that they need to speak to different demographics. And as it relates to clean beauty, I feel like it doesn't do a lot of good to educate the public if you're not able to offer solutions that are going to work for the public. As someone who's personally been actively searching for clean beauty products for over a decade, it's been a total irritation of mine that the vast majority of cleaner products, particularly makeup and cosmetics, are made and marketed to rich white women. And I get that clean products are more expensive to make. It's incredibly difficult to make high-performing products that not only work without all those traditional yucky ingredients, but are also suitable for a wide variety of skin types and skin tones. I am not a pink white girl, so it's hard for me to find products that I can use. And it's one of the reasons that there aren't a lot of choices on the market, not nearly as many as I think we'd like to see.
Yeah.
Is that.
I would say that was one of the first questions Twyla, a dear friend, asked me. She's very dark, and when I told her about clean beauty, she said, oh no, there's nothing like that for a dark person like me. And I said, well, can I just show you it? And she said, well, is it inclusive? And I said, yes, we have we have super dark brown into black shades, and we'll find something for you. And she's loving it. And she had us host an event there. So I think it is one of the BeautyCounter is one of the only inclusive clean brands that is truly clean, that started out of the gate with all the colors and didn't integrate them later. So I really do love that about the brand too.
They did. I mean, in all fairness, they came out with they're constantly expanding their line. So they did. I mean, they started with like 6 products. I think they started with one skincare line of 6 products, but that was only 6 years ago. They have gone from 6 products in a one skincare regimen to I don't even know how many. I think they have over 100 or even over 200 different products from now skincare for all different skin types, to makeup, to bath and body products, family products, sunscreens. They've just launched their men's line, which is amazing. So it's, yeah, I think, not just being inclusive of different skin tones, but just different skin types. Like, not everything works if you're dry, if you're oily, if you have combo skin, if you have sensitive skin, if you have teenage skin. There's, and then what about my kids? I want something I can use on my kids. And now my husband wants to be able to use stuff, and I don't want him to steal mine anymore. So, that's, again, as someone who would want to associate yourself with a brand as an ambassador or an affiliate or a consultant, or even just, recommend products to your own friends and family, it's nice to be able to work with different brands that can really provide more than one option. And so I think that's really important. And then lastly, and most importantly, in my opinion, the products have to actually work. I think the biggest obstacle to the clean beauty movement all this time, and the reason it hasn't taken hold in our society sooner, is that historically the products just don't work. They don't work well, and some don't work at all. There's, makeup that fades away after 5 minutes, deodorants that leave you stinky, hair products that turn your hair into straw, and, face creams that are way more expensive but don't work any better than just the plain coconut oil that I've been using all those years. None of those products have really helped this cause, because they've created this stereotype about clean beauty being just, a hippy dippy tree hugger thing for people who don't really care what they look like. And it's this weird stigma that's been attached to that forever. And so it's been really gratifying for me personally to see more beauty brands stepping up, not just BeautyCounter, but several others who are creating products that are high performing and work as well as a lot of the toxic products out there. And it's just been my greatest joy to see industry professionals like you, who I know your standards are really strict. I know you need, like, that was the first thing we talked about. Like, if this doesn't last, I can't use it. And it's really great to be able to be confident enough to say, here, try it. See, like, really test it. If it doesn't work, send it back. But now that we've worked together for all this time, and I've seen you use it on your professional shoots, for yourself, for your brides, for your models, at the end of the day, clean beauty is still a business, and no business works if you're not producing great products that work and that people love.
And getting us published in Florum. We got published in a couple of magazines. Oh my God. And like, since then I was sought out for going to do stage makeup for events, including Pays to Be Brave. We're doing Alt Summit. We're working with Wedding MBA. We're working with like all these different company, a bunch I can't even talk about yet because we're still working out contracts, but like, it's amazing having celebrities call me to do their makeup, and like now just being pretty exclusive to high-end brides, high-end clients, and celebs. Like, with BeautyCounter, with clean products, it's amazing. It's so amazing.
That's so good. You've got such a great story. I would love to interview you next time. That's
Yes.
what we'll do. Next time we're gonna turn the tables, and I'm gonna interview Cassandra about her business and everything that all the different ways it's changed since she aligned herself with clean beauty.
Well, this is so much insight. I think a lot of people are going to have to listen to this twice and take notes. So thank you for sharing. We're definitely over time, and I would love to leave our listeners with a way to learn more about how to get involved with this movement. So take it away. And then if there's any way that anyone can find you, you just
Yeah, thanks. Sorry, brevity is not my strong suit, especially when I get on topics I'm passionate about. But I'm actually a great example of one of those individuals who had no background in this industry, but was just inspired by this mission. to start a business, and not just my BeautyCounter business. My BeautyCounter business is what has enabled me to found a nonprofit organization called the Clean Beauty Project. And our mission is to connect conscious consumers with better businesses. We're a nonprofit organization, and we're working with for-profit businesses. One of our main goals is just to teach them how they can use this movement to better serve their clients and customers. So we're partnering with small business owners, health and wellness advocates who want to educate people in their communities about the importance of ingredients and safer substitutes, and really empower them to take action that's going to protect their health. So you can visit our website and take our 5-day Clean Start Challenge, where we'll provide you with information and a free resource guide that will help you start cleaning up your environment in less than a week with 5 simple steps. And if you're a small business owner or an entrepreneur who's open to learning more about how the clean beauty movement can help you elevate or even start your own business, you can contact me directly via email at Guyanne, it's Guyanne, at cleanbeautyproject.org, or just use the contact form on our website.
Thank you so, so much. And if any of the listeners have any questions, definitely get in touch. And then we do have all this information in the show notes too. So don't worry, it's all down below. So thank you so much. And we'll talk to you next time.
This episode is sponsored by Dubon Floral Design. I can personally speak to Sarah's work ethic and can always count on her to create unique, amazing pieces. She has been featured with me on CBS, as well as Elegant Weddings, Cake and Lace, and Wedding Colors. Sarah always has the prettiest and freshest flowers. She's a great friend and a fellow creative in the wedding industry. And if you are planning your wedding like me and want beautiful florals, be sure to check out her website to book well in advance at dubonfloraldesign.com. That's DUBON, and tell her I sent you. Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to head over to iTunes to review, rate, and subscribe to the channel. Until next week, stay beautiful.